You probably don't realize it, but there's one common habit that could be slowly sabotaging your health after 60. It's something most men do in private, thinking it's harmless or even helpful, but in reality, it might be doing the exact opposite. I'm Dr. Sophia Jain, and I've spent over 20 years helping men over 60 reclaim their vitality, circulation, and confidence. Today, we're going to talk about a silent mistake millions of older men make when it comes to self-pleasure. It's subtle, easy to overlook, but incredibly important. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what it is, why it matters, and how you can start reversing the damage today. Now let's get something straight. Masturbation by itself is not the problem. In fact, when done correctly, it can be part of a healthy, balanced lifestyle. But the way many men approach it after 60, especially if they're still using the same habits they developed decades ago, that's where the trouble starts. The truth is, your body has changed. Your hormones have changed. Your nervous system, your blood vessels, your recovery time, all of it is different now. And the biggest mistake I see over and over again is using the same intensity, speed, or technique that worked when you were 25. When you apply too much pressure, use fast, repetitive motions, or rely on visual stimulation like porn to get aroused, you're overwhelming your nervous system. You're forcing a short-term response from a body that now needs more care, not more force. I've seen men unknowingly numb their own sensitivity, reduce natural blood flow to the pelvic area, and even interfere with hormone production, all from this one habit. Now I know nobody talks about this stuff. It's not exactly dinner table conversation. But I promise you, once you understand what's really happening, everything changes. You start to see how this normal habit might be costing you more than you ever imagined: your energy, your connection with your partner, your ability to feel deeply and respond naturally. So in the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the exact effects this mistake has on your body, the subtle signs it may already be causing damage, and what to do instead. Simple, science-backed steps that can help restore circulation and emotional connection, even if you haven't felt either in years. What actually changes in a man's body after 60, and why those changes make this common mistake so much riskier than it was in your younger years. The first thing that shifts is vascular flexibility. In your 20s and 30s, your blood vessels are elastic. They expand and contract with ease. But by the time you reach 60, that flexibility starts to diminish. Plaque buildup, lower nitric oxide levels, and reduced testosterone all work against smooth circulation. That means your tissues need more oxygen and nutrients, but the blood flow delivering those resources isn't as strong or consistent. Now think about what happens when you use intense pressure or speed during self-pleasure. You're compressing blood vessels, stressing nerve endings, and possibly even damaging small capillaries around the pelvic area. That's the opposite of what your body needs right now. Instead of supporting circulation, you're limiting it. Instead of boosting sensitivity, you're dulling it. And here's the kicker: because this damage is subtle, most men don't even notice it happening. They just start to feel off. Maybe a little less sensation, maybe less interest in intimacy, maybe just this vague feeling that something's missing. And that's not all. The nervous system also changes as we age. Your parasympathetic system, the one that controls rest, digestion, and arousal, starts to become less dominant compared to your sympathetic system, which handles stress and tension. So if your self-stimulation habits are intense or rushed, you're actually putting your body into a stress state instead of a relaxed one. This can lead to difficulty maintaining arousal, trouble reaching orgasm, and even long-term burnout of your natural desire. That's why some men start to feel emotionally numb after years of unhealthy patterns. It's not psychological, it's physiological. Now let's move into part 2, the hormonal roller coaster. Every time you climax, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, followed quickly by a wave of prolactin. In younger men, this hormonal shift is short-lived. The body rebounds quickly. But after 60, the prolactin spike can linger much longer. And when prolactin stays elevated, it suppresses testosterone and reduces sexual desire. Over time, frequent overstimulation can cause this hormonal rhythm to get completely out of sync, leaving you with lower energy, weaker erections, slower recovery, and even mood swings. It's not uncommon for men in their 60s or 70s to come to me and say, "I just don't feel like myself anymore." They're not depressed in the traditional sense, they're hormonally out of balance. And it often starts with how they're stimulating themselves. The more intense the habit, the more dramatic the hormonal crash afterward. That creates a cycle where you chase pleasure to feel better, only to feel worse afterward, which pushes you to repeat the cycle. And eventually, your body stops responding the way it used to. That brings us to something even more important than hormones: connection. Let's talk about part 3, emotional impact. Many men don't realize that the way they touch themselves affects not just the body, but the heart. When you rely on quick, disconnected stimulation, especially in secret or out of boredom, it sends a message to your brain that intimacy is a solo experience. It trains you to separate pleasure from connection. And over time, that separation becomes a wall. I've had couples sit in my office, both wondering why they feel distant, even though nothing's wrong. Often, it's because one or both partners have replaced emotional closeness with mechanical habits. I remember one man in his late 60s who said, "I still love my wife, but I don't feel close to her anymore." When I asked him about his habits, he admitted he hadn't tried to initiate touch in months. He felt embarrassed about his performance, so he turned to quick relief alone. That became his pattern. And eventually, he felt numb not just sexually, but emotionally. Once we started shifting his approach, reconnecting touch with intention and slowing everything down, not only did his circulation improve, but so did his "Reef, this sounds familiar. Please know you're not broken." This is something I see all the time, and it can be reversed. But it takes a shift, a different mindset. You can't fix this with more intensity, more stimulation, or more devices. You fix it by coming back to the body, gently, consistently, and with care. And that's what we'll cover in the next part of this guide: how to break the pattern and start healing with what I call the gentle stimulation method. Now let's talk about how to actually reverse the damage and rebuild connection with your body. This is where the gentle stimulation method comes in. It's not about giving up pleasure. It's about retraining your nervous system, waking up sensitivity, and allowing blood flow to return naturally. And it starts with step 1, slowing down. Most men have been conditioned for decades to rush. Quick relief, fast release, get it over with and move on. That works when you're 25, when your blood vessels are elastic and your hormones are surging. But at 60 or beyond, your body needs more time. Slow, mindful touch allows your nerves to activate without being overwhelmed. It allows your brain to stay relaxed, which supports better hormone flow and deeper sensation. Now, I'm not just talking about slowing the motion itself. I'm talking about slowing the entire experience. No pressure to finish, no distractions like phones or videos. Just you, your breath, and your body. The first few times may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. That's normal. You're retraining patterns that have been wired in for decades. But stick with it. The nervous system is adaptable, even at 70. When you slow down, you give your body a chance to respond in a healthier way. Step 2 is what I call the reset window. This is a short break, just 3 days without stimulation. No porn, no masturbation, and no pressure to be aroused. It's not about restriction. It's about recovery. These 72 hours allow your dopamine system to settle, your prolactin to drop, and your testosterone to begin rebuilding. During this time, your body starts to reset its natural balance. You might notice better sleep, more vivid dreams, a clearer head, or even spontaneous arousal returning. That's a sign your system is healing. And this reset can be repeated every few weeks to keep things functioning at their best. Step 3 is gentle reconnection. If you have a partner, this is where you begin to restore intimacy without performance pressure. That means holding each other, sharing physical closeness without expecting anything to happen. Just touch, eye contact, breathing together. If you're on your own, this step is just as important. Place your hand on your chest or abdomen. Breathe deeply and ask your body how it feels. It might sound strange, but this kind of mindful connection rewires the brain. It helps you shift from seeking release to seeking presence. And that shift can transform everything: your energy, your mood, your relationships. I've seen men reclaim their vitality using this method. One patient in his early 70s had been dealing with numbness and low desire for years. After just 2 weeks of slowing down and following these steps, he came back to me and said, "I feel alive again." That's the power of this kind of change. It's not magic. It's biology supported by awareness and consistency. But there's one more piece I want to share with you, and that's how to recognize the red flags your body might already be giving you. Because the truth is, for many men, the damage has already begun. They just haven't connected the dots yet. So let's move into part 5, the warning signs your circulation is suffering. These signals often start small, so subtle that most people ignore them. But if you know what to look for, you can catch the issue early and start making changes before more serious problems develop. One of the first signs is cold hands or feet, especially at night. This usually means your extremities aren't getting enough blood flow. It's easy to blame the weather or poor sleep, but often it's circulatory. Another sign is a drop in morning erections. Now, this isn't just about libido. It's a biological indicator of vascular health. Morning erections are triggered by nocturnal blood pressure patterns. If they're missing, that could mean your arteries aren't responding properly. Reduced sensation is another key signal. If you've noticed that touch feels duller, or climax takes longer, or feels weaker than it used to, it's often because nerves aren't getting the oxygen and nutrients they need to function at full capacity. Men also report feeling more tired than usual, not just physically, but emotionally drained. That's because low circulation and hormone imbalance affect your brain just as much as your body. Some describe it as brain fog, others as a sense of dullness or detachment. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know, this doesn't have to be permanent. But you do need to listen. Your body is speaking, not with panic, but with quiet warnings. If you catch them early, you can turn things around. So what causes these signs to appear more intensely after 60? It comes down to 4 factors: decreased nitric oxide, reduced testosterone, slower nerve regeneration, and chronic overstimulation. All 4 feed into each other. If you're constantly triggering dopamine with overstimulation, then crashing afterward, your body doesn't get a chance to rebuild. That means circulation weakens, nerves dull, and recovery takes longer. The good news? Once you interrupt this loop and give your body the space and rhythm it needs, it starts to heal. Let's take a moment to talk about the role nitric oxide plays here. This is the molecule responsible for relaxing your blood vessels. It's what allows blood to flow freely to the areas that need it most. But when nitric oxide levels drop, as they naturally do with age, it becomes harder for your body to respond. Overstimulation makes it worse by increasing oxidative stress, which lowers nitric oxide even more. On the other hand, slowing down and practicing the gentle stimulation method actually supports nitric oxide production. So with every calm, intentional session, you're not just avoiding damage, you're actively rebuilding function. Now let's touch briefly on testosterone. This hormone drives desire, energy, and performance. But constant overstimulation, especially when it leads to frequent climax, can drive prolactin up, which in turn lowers testosterone. That's why the reset window is so crucial. It gives your endocrine system the chance to breathe. I've had men come back to me saying their motivation improved, their energy returned, and even their posture felt different. All from taking just a few days to realign with their body. We're approaching something deeper now, something beyond just physical symptoms or habits. Because behind every choice we make with our bodies, there's usually an emotion. And that brings us to part 6, the emotional root of overstimulation. For many men, this habit isn't just about pleasure. It's about escape. Escape from boredom, loneliness, frustration, or stress. And when pleasure becomes a coping mechanism, rather than a celebration of connection, it begins to leave us emptier instead of fulfilled. I've seen it in successful, intelligent, compassionate men who feel ashamed, confused, or disconnected, and they all ask the same question: why do I feel this way? The answer is rarely simple, but it always involves disconnection from self, from others, from emotion. When stimulation becomes mechanical, the emotional circuitry begins to shut down. That's why some men report feeling emotionally flat after climax. It's not that they're broken, It's that they've conditioned their body to perform without feeling. The good news is, with the right kind of touch, the right kind of breath, and the right kind of attention, that feeling can come back. So how do you bring that feeling back? It starts by shifting your goal. Instead of aiming for release, aim for presence. Instead of zoning out, tune in. Ask yourself how you're feeling before you begin. Are you stressed, bored, lonely, or genuinely curious about connecting with your body? That awareness alone can change the experience. And when you replace fast, goal-oriented habits with slow, intentional connection, you're not just improving blood flow, you're reestablishing a sense of emotional integrity. Many men find that when they approach touch this way, their entire emotional landscape changes. They feel more in tune with their needs, more balanced throughout the day, more capable of expressing themselves with their partners. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before stress and shame pushed you into autopilot. When you give your body the respect it deserves, it starts responding in ways you may not have felt in years. I once worked with a retired firefighter in his late 60s who told me he hadn't felt anything real in over a decade. He said everything felt muted: his energy, his emotions, his sex drive. He thought he was just burned out. But after following this method for 6 weeks, slowing down, resetting, reconnecting, he came in with tears in his eyes. He said, "I didn't realize I had gotten so far away from myself. I feel alive again. I feel like I'm back." That's what this work is really about. Not just improving function, but reclaiming your sense of self. Now, as we begin to bring everything together, I want to walk you through the full roadmap for restoring circulation, connection, and confidence after 60. Think of this as your daily and weekly guide, something you can come back to again and again. It's not rigid. It's flexible. But it works. And it starts with the basics. Each morning, begin with a breath check. Before reaching for your phone or moving too quickly, take 3 deep breaths through your nose, slow and steady. This helps activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the system that supports relaxation, arousal, and recovery. Then, as part of your morning routine, spend 5 minutes doing light movement. It could be a walk, gentle stretching, or even a few squats next to your bed. Why? Because blood flow isn't just a sexual function, it's a full body system. When you get the blood moving in the morning, you support circulation all day long, including in the areas that matter for intimacy. Add a glass of warm water with lemon or a pinch of sea salt to help hydration and support nitric oxide production. Next, set boundaries around overstimulation. If you're used to relying on visual stimulation like porn or intense fantasies, give your brain a break. Go 1 week without any external stimulus. Use your imagination instead. This helps reset your dopamine receptors and lowers your brain's threshold for pleasure. That means you start feeling more with less. Over time, this makes everything more satisfying: touch, connection, even casual moments of affection. Each evening, do a 2-minute check-in with your body. Just sit quietly, place one hand on your chest, and ask, "What do I need right now?" Some nights, the answer may be rest. Other nights, it may be touch, or connection, or simply stillness. This short practice builds emotional literacy, the ability to understand and respond to your feelings rather than override them. And the more emotionally aware you become, the more powerful your physical experiences will feel. Now here's something I rarely hear doctors talk about, but it's crucial: your environment matters. If your space feels rushed, cluttered, or sterile, it becomes harder to relax. Take a few minutes each day to make your bedroom feel like a calm, welcoming place. Dim the lights, reduce background noise, and bring in warmth, soft fabrics, warm colors, even a calming scent. Your nervous system responds to signals from your surroundings. When your space feels peaceful, your body will follow. And finally, the most important part: give yourself permission. So many men carry unspoken guilt about this part of their lives. Whether it's religious shame, societal expectations, or just decades of stress, it's time to let that go. You have a right to feel pleasure, to feel connection, to feel fully alive. And none of that ends at 60 or 70 or even 80. In fact, many men find their most fulfilling intimate years happen later in life because they're finally able to slow down and listen to their bodies. So where do you go from here? Start with one small change. Maybe tonight, instead of rushing through an old habit, you sit quietly, take a few breaths, and just check in with yourself. Maybe tomorrow, you try the 3-day reset. Maybe next week, you talk to your partner about rebuilding physical closeness without pressure or expectation. Whatever it looks like for you, just know this journey isn't about being perfect. It's about coming back to yourself, one gentle step at a time. You are not past your prime. You are not too old. You are not broken. The truth is, most men over 60 have never been taught how to care for their bodies at this stage of life. They've been taught to ignore, to push through, or to give up. But now you know the truth. You know that what feels like decline may just be your body's way of asking for something different, more presence, more gentleness, more respect. We started this conversation by identifying the one common mistake so many men make, using the same old habits of overstimulation, tight grip, and high friction well into their 60s and beyond. We looked at how that habit impacts your circulation, weakens your nervous system, and drains your hormones. We examined how it creates emotional distance, both from yourself and from others, and how it can lead to symptoms like numbness, fatigue, and low desire that most men chalk up to just getting older. But more importantly, we talked about what you can do to heal. We explored the gentle stimulation method, slowing down, taking reset periods, and reconnecting with your body in a mindful, intentional way. We talked about building emotional awareness and creating a daily rhythm that supports not just function, but fulfillment. And we outlined the subtle signs your body gives you when it's struggling, so you can finally start listening before it turns into something more serious. This is about more than just circulation. It's about identity. It's about feeling like a man again, not because of performance, but because you're in alignment with yourself. I've had the privilege of helping hundreds of men rediscover this part of their lives, not with pills or pressure, but with presence. Men who thought their best years were behind them, only to find out they were just beginning a new chapter, one grounded in care, connection, and awareness. And I'll be honest with you, there's something beautiful about watching that transformation happen. A man who once walked into my office ashamed and withdrawn, suddenly standing taller, smiling more, calling his partner into the room with a renewed sense of closeness. That's what's possible here. Not just better circulation, but deeper confidence. Not just more sensation, but more meaning. And all of it starts with one choice, the decision to stop doing what no longer works and start treating your body like it matters. Because it does. You do. So if any part of this spoke to you, don't ignore it. Listen to your body. Trust your gut. And take that first step tonight. Whether you're starting with a deep breath, a moment of stillness, or a conversation with someone you trust, it counts. Every moment of attention you give your body is an invitation to heal. Every time you choose presence over pressure, you're moving closer to the man you're meant to be. Strong, steady, sensitive, and fully alive. You don't need to go back to who you were at 25. That man was figuring things out. The man you are now carries wisdom, patience, and the ability to feel more deeply than ever before. This stage of life isn't a decline. It's a turning point. A chance to do things differently, with care instead of force, with clarity instead of confusion, and with connection instead of isolation. I'll leave you with this. Your body is still listening. Your heart is still capable. Your desire, your circulation, your connection, they're not gone. They're just waiting for a different rhythm. You don't have to fight your body anymore. You just have to learn how to support it, gently and consistently, from this day forward. So take a breath, slow down, and begin again. You've got this. And you're not alone. We're all in this together, learning, growing, and reclaiming what matters most. Your right to feel, to connect, and to live fully at every age.